Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to Mrs. Jones' Science Kitchen Lab, or the Kitchen Science Lab. Today, we will be talking about relative density. So before we do that, let's review. What is density? What is Miss Jones is talking about? I know we studied it this year, so right now, I'm going to review it for you, okay? Put your thinking caps on and remember what we talked about and what we studied in our science lab. So, relative density. Today, we're going to classify matter based on physical properties such as relative density. And when we said physical properties, we're talking about mass, magnetism, relative density, all of those properties and all of those characteristics of matter, okay? What is relative density? So relative density is the ability of an object to sink or float. It sinks or it floats. So today, I have a few objects with me today, and we're going to test out whether or not they sink or float. These are some objects from my kitchen, okay? Objects that sink are more dense. Objects that floats are less dense. So let's find out which of these objects float and which objects sinks, okay? Which ones sink, which one sink, and which one floats. We have an egg here. Do you think it's gonna sink or float? Let's test it out. Our egg, as you can see, if you can see, our egg sank. So is that more dense or less dense? That's right, it's more dense than water. Let's try a straw. Do you think it's more dense or less dense? Do you think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? Let's try. Let's see. Look at that. It floated. The straw floated. So does it make it more dense or less dense than water? You got it. Less dense. Let's try another one. An apple. Granny Smith apple. Do you think it's going to sink or is it going to float? Let's try it. It is floating. So is the apple more dense or less dense than water? That's right, it's less dense than water. Okay. Paperclip. Will it sink or will it float? Let's try it. It sank. Is the paperclip more dense or less dense than water? That's right. It is more dense than water. Woohoo! Keep it up, boys and girls. I have a top, a lid from one of my candles. Do you think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? Okay, let's try it. You think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? Okay, let's try it. floats, boys and girls. It didn't sink. And the reason why it floated is because air is less dense than water. And certain metals are also less dense than water. Okay. How about the white beans? Do you think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? Okay, let's drop them. It sank. So is it more dense or less dense than water? You got it. It is more dense than water. Good, very good. Keep it up. And our final item is a water bottle. Think about it. Is it more dense or less dense? Will it sink or will it float? Let's find out. It's floating, boys and girls. If it's floating, is it less dense or more dense? You got it. It's less dense. Okay. Now that we have talked about relative density, I want you to think about and find some items in your home. All you have to do is get a bowl of water, find maybe some rocks, a penny, beans in the house, a lemon, or whatever object your heart is desire. Classify them by size, shape, and also texture. And then, when you're finished, write down your findings. I look forward to seeing your findings and your observations. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome, awesome time.